Hi, I'm Dan Sanguinetti,
And I'm Russell Lee.
and this is Film Rhapsody. In this week's episode, we talk about Lights Canberra Action, one of the biggest events on Canberra's filmmaking calendar.
And we speak to some of the players in the game who share some of their experiences at Lights Canberra Action.
Well, we've got a fantastic season ahead of us. One of the things that we learned from producing season one on a regular basis is that when we talk with like-minded individuals, we feel good about ourselves. Like, part of why I started this podcast is to create some sort of therapy as a way to help us deal with the challenges of being content makers and video makers. And by having an episode every other week or every week, it's meant that my content has become more regular and more available, which has been a great thing, and a great thing that I am looking forward to continuing with season 2.
The show's really become like a filmmaking laxative.
It has, in a way, because by talking with some amazing people, as many of those who would have listened to our clip show that we released last week, you would have heard some great insights from a number of different creative people that have been helpful and inspiring to us as filmmakers.
And we have more in season 2.
So one of the episodes coming up that I really wanted to highlight was we're doing a special episode for International Women's Day on March 6th. I've invited 3 amazing women to come and talk to me and share with me in essentially trying to find a way to better build gender equality on my film sets, and also to share and give advice on how our film community and our film industry can further, I guess, bring that equality line to where it belongs.
And then later in the season, I'm going to sit down with a few fellow writers and we're going to crack each other's skulls open and see what makes us tick. It's going to be a writer's round table. It won't make a damn bit of sense, but it will be happening in season 2.
We're also going to have Screen Canberra come visit us and have a chat about some of the things that they've been doing over the last couple of years.
Can they make the journey? It's not too far away from them?
No, like they've booked their flights, they've organised their accommodation, and the 15 metres they have to walk to the Film Rhapsody studio.
I was about to say that's a lot of effort to get away from us.
Yeah, but yeah, Screen Canberra will join us later this season, so hopefully, they'll have some amazing things to talk about, and obviously, like, the big thing as well is that this is an agency with 4 women working and helping and developing Canberra's film industry.
Also in season 2, we're traveling to the Alice set, Dan's film with me, and we're going to take a look at the next block of filming and preview what's going to be coming up for you.
We'll also be talking to Patrick J. Gallagher, or Pat Gallagher, later this season. He was the director on Theatre of the Dead, but he's also a long-time theatre actor and a long-time employee of the Parliament House as well, which we get some insights into his time behind a camera while working with our politicians.
And we're also going to be sitting down and speaking with Victoria Fiona Hopkins, screen queen, actress, costume designer, and part of the Alice team.
So there's lots of amazing things that we're looking forward to this season, and there's plenty more that we haven't talked about yet. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, if all goes well, there will be a weekly episode for us to share and put out there. So Film Rhapsody Season 2.
On we go. So this time last year, the 2 of us were busy, hard at work on the Man in the Moon film. What do you remember mostly from that time?
I think making a film for Lights Canberra Action is always a difficult and stressful time. I like Lights Canberra Action is the reason why I'm a filmmaker, because of the opportunity that it was to make a film each year.
Because there's not a lot of film festivals in Canberra, is there?
Well, there was a few little ones, but we're talking 2004.
Was Screen Canberra even around?
No, see, there was no Screen Canberra. There was like the Filmmakers Network and things like that, but it felt unsupported. It felt unorganized. It didn't seem to be working the way it should be. And so, yeah, pre the creation of Screen Canberra, Lights Canberra Action was the industry. It was the thing that existed, and that was it. And so the first year it came out, I heard about it. I can't remember how I heard about it. I was absolutely wanting to make a film. And so I'd made one, and I mean, I made it on VHS. Yes, in VHS, even
Still have my player.
early 2000s, but it was a terrible movie. In all, like, I know it's not a thing to put yourself down, but and it, being that it was one of my earliest projects, but it was about a pizza delivery guy who couldn't find the address. But what I tried to do interesting with it was that at the same time there was a rugby game happening, and the idea is that the commentary of the rugby game was commentating his inability to find the address.
Did he get tackled in the film?
No. So what he does is he scores a try at the end with the pizza box, and so when he opens up the pizza box to the customers, it's destroyed. So that was the film. I reflect on it and laugh now, but this is why it's so important that making a film can really change your life, right? It was shown. There was an out of competition screening because all the films that went through on Lights Camera Action got shown. And because that film got shown, I was like, I want to make another one and another one and another one. And so it was like this, it was this motivation. It was this acceptance as a filmmaker. My film got selected to be shown. It didn't matter. It didn't get selected for anything. It just was on a list. It said Dan Sanguinetti, Last Orders. Lights Camera Action 2004, which it was life-changing, seriously the life-changing moment. Because the year after, in 2005, I made a film with my filmmaking partner at the time, and it was a post-apocalyptic type film. I mean, I think it was all the rage in the early 2000s to make post-apocalyptic type stories.
Thank God we've gone away from apocalypse.
Yeah, and it made it into the top 12, and that was Epitaph, and that's one of the things that Marisa mentioned when we talked to her in last season.
That was the film she really liked.
She liked the visual at the end where there was all the people of Canberra dead in Grima Place. Like, we shut down Grima Place without permission. So then last year, I kind of brought it all, I guess, full circle in a way, and made the decision that I would be officially making my last Lights Camera Action film, so I could move on to other things, to be able to free myself up to be sharing what I can with other people. And
as a swan song, I guess Man in the Moon is something you couldn't have possibly imagined something better.
That's right. It was a type of film that I don't think I could have made until the point I was in my career as a filmmaker, because I wanted to tell something that had much deeper meaning and had layers built upon layers. Like, it wasn't just a straight story about, some of my other films, there was about a guitar player who lost the love and things like that. But that was supposed to start out as a El Mariachi parody or El Mariachi style film with guns and explosions and things like that. And because I just ran out of time, it ended up being this love letter to Canberra, but it didn't have much deeper meaning to it. It didn't have much of a plot. The story of Man in the Moon, I wanted to tell something about connecting with parents or connecting with a father that wasn't there, and an innocence that was lost, and an innocence that we probably still have when it comes to reaching for the stars and reaching for our futures. Back in season 1, I talked with Marisa Martin, as you might remember, where we discussed a lot about her founding Lights Camera Action and also what makes a great Lights Camera Action film. Not everything made the episode that time, so here is some exclusive deleted clips from my chat with Marisa Martin. Why did you start Lights Camera Action? I don't think I've ever asked you that. For the years that that we've been in the industry together, I've never asked you that. Why did you start it?
We started Lights Canberra Action 16 years ago, and we did it because my then partner and myself had been to the Newcastle Shootout Film Festival, which was this super fun 24-hour filmmaking festival. That was something that the UC kids all did. We all drove to Newcastle for the weekend, made a film from Friday night to Saturday night, and then they would screen them on the Sunday, and you didn't even know if your film was in until it started playing during the show.
Oh, wow.
So it was absolutely tense, the whole screening. Yeah. So, we absolutely loved this event, and we made the finals 4 times. Yeah. Never won. Yeah. But we made the finals 4 times, which was pretty amazing. And at the time in Canberra, there weren't very many short filmmaking festivals. Short filmmaking had only just begun to get cost effective. Video cameras and editing suites and stuff had just started to become affordable for people who were really interested. Before that, it was home videos were 8mm or something, and that's a whole different. And there were competitions around that we'd heard about where you could shoot films on 8mm or things like that. But this was sort of the emergence of home video making stuff. And so this was 2003, and the ACT government approached us saying that they wanted, because we'd been running short seasons. Which was another short film festival that was non-competitive and just somewhere for us and our mates and whoever else we could find in Canberra who'd made a short film. The amount of work that goes into them, we wanted to screen them. So short seasons was about that. So the ACT government knew that we were making film festivals, and that we could run one successfully because we'd been running short seasons by then. And they were like, "Oh, we'd love to have a film festival that's got so that we can see Canberra locations on screen. We want to see Canberra on screen. We want to do it around the Canberra Festival, which doesn't exist anymore. But at the time was the Canberra Festival was around Canberra Day. Now we have Enlighten, which is basically the same thing, but it's called something different. And they were like, "Do you want to have a think about an event and pitch it to us, and we'll look to make it happen?" And we were like, "Sweet." So we looked at the shootout as our big inspiration, but there were several things that as filmmakers we wanted to be able to do better than shootout does, because shootout is only 24 hours. You have to shoot consecutively in camera. You can't edit outside of camera. It has to be edited in camera. And so you have to shoot every shot consecutively and line it up, and it was a really awful way to make a film. So the first thing we thought we'd add was editing. So you're allowed to edit. And more time, 10 days. And the reason it's 10 days is so that you've got 2 weekends.
Nice.
So that you've got a weekend to shoot and a weekend to edit, so that if you've got a job or school or something, you can still make a film. To make it as accessible as possible for everybody. It had to have Canberra items so that Canberra is on screen. So that's where the 10 items came from. And we thought it's a bit like a scavenger hunt. You've got to learn about Canberra. We tied all the items into themes and into Canberra's history, so that because my father is a heritage architect. So my childhood was spent going to heritage locations and learning history as I went. So I think that has instilled in me a love of history. And so we were like, oh yeah, we'll put Canberra things in and tell the history of those items, and hopefully show people a side of Canberra they haven't thought of or haven't seen or didn't know about. And so that's where those early items kind of came from. These days, we do a little bit of that. And we also do a bit of freeing up for people, because 10 locations is actually quite onerous on the filmmakers. So we now balance it as 5 location-specific items and 5 on-theme items. And you can have up to 5 in photographs. So in essence, you can make a film completely in one room. And still meet all the criteria of having the 10 items. And I wanted to do that because as a filmmaker, I know how annoying it is to have to run around and shoot locations. So again, so there are bits and pieces of the festival that as filmmakers, we kind of went, okay, let's make this a bit better. Let's make that a bit better. And then we ran it so the ACT government pays for it. Which is brilliant. And we've been running it for 16 years. So I've been running it on my own for the last 12. It's amazing how important a deadline is. And a deadline that's not too far away. So that when you decide to make a Lights Canberra film, you turn up, get the items, and then really you've got no time to faff about. You kind of either do it or you don't. And you've got a deadline 10 days later. So it's not far enough away that you put off making it until the last minute and then you're like, I can't be bothered. It's right there. You do it or you don't. And a lot of people have said to me that they don't have a lot of time, and this is the only time they make a film, because they know that they can allocate 2 weekends to it, and then it's done, and they've made a film for the year, and they're super happy, and if whether it makes it or not, they make a film every year.
Yeah.
Because it gives them a guide because they've got a theme, they have to include the items, and that helps them write things. Because if you're given too open a brief, you kind of like, oh, I don't know where to go, where to start. If we give you 10 things and a theme, you've kind of already got a story forming in your brain. Yeah. So I think that it's just the way it's constructed in that, just a fluke, really. That means that people respond to it really positively, and really enables them to focus for not too long, but long enough to do something decent. Yeah.
How many films get made each year? Like, is it a consistent amount, or is it?
No, it's been growing for years, which is really good. It goes down every time it rains.
Right.
So there was one year where it poured for the whole week, and we had our lowest number of entries that year. And that's just because it's much harder and people give up, which is fair enough. I wouldn't want to be out in the rain shooting. But it's about 30 to 40 teams.
Yeah.
Started, I think the first year was 25 teams, and it's grown and grown and grown. And one year we had 55 teams finish, and then from then it's been up and down depending on weather.
Yeah. Okay. So weather makes sense, being that the locations and things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And out of all those films, what are some of the films that have really stood out to you, and why? I really want to understand what, from your perspective as somebody, I know you're not on the judging panel, so you don't have like decision making on that, but I'm assuming you see all the films every year. Yep. And so what I want to get to an understanding is what makes a great film, what makes a great short film, and how filmmakers can learn from watching films that are from previous years. Yeah.
Well, it starts with, you've got to be basically technically competent. You've got to be able to see it and hear it. Yeah. They're the basic things, because every now and then we'll get a film where the audio is so bad you can't hear the dialogue, and if the audience can't understand what's going on, that's a big problem. Yeah. But that's sort of the basic level. To be honest, as long as you can see it and hear it, then it comes completely down to story and characters. Beyond that, beautiful cinematography and fabulous editing and really good writing, they all help, obviously. But if the story isn't there, the judges won't connect. Because as you say, I don't judge at all, but I sit there sometimes difficultly, very quietly. I sit there and I watch all the films with the judging panel. So I hear them talk, and I write up notes for any filmmaker who wants feedback. I write up the conversation that I heard and the notes that they make, and because I want to help people improve. For me, feedback is so important, and that's a big part of what I do as the festival director, is listen, take notes, synthesize it for people. But so story, it's about connecting with characters that you recognize, or that you either in yourself or in other people, and following them on a journey that's then satisfying.
As you know, Sanguinary Media have been providing workshops for a number of years now, and the idea behind them is to give opportunity to emerging filmmakers to give themselves a guided exploration of a film production. So part of what we try and focus on is about getting the story right and getting a story that works, and then going through the process of actually producing that film. So, and it isn't like a textbook here, page 1, turn the page, now page 2, and all that sort of thing. We just throw ourselves into it. What do we need to make a film happen? We need actors, we need crew, we need equipment, we need to have storyboards, we need to have shot lists and all that sort of thing, and we just get it all done, and then we go off and shoot it.
Just learn by doing. And then obviously we go as far as the editing and delivering. So it's the full gamut of filmmaking, all done very quickly as the available time that we have. The part of the vision that I was hoping to give to the Canberra film community is to actually give some direction on how to make a Lights Canberra Action film, and that's sort of where we're at the moment. So the first few people I talked with are the filmmaking workshop attendees, so the filmmakers who are part of that. And I asked them a bit about what it's like to have basically planned the film that they're working on. And they've come up with some really interesting ideas. And so, yeah, been a really great experience to give them the chance to explore what they wanted to make for this year's Lights Canberra Action.
I'm Matthew Thompson from Canberra, and I'm here to make a film for Lights Canberra Action.
My name's James Dyer, and I've just started getting into content creation, making content for social media.
My name is Erina. I come from a creative background.
My name is Donna Marie Hansen. I am currently studying a PhD in creative writing, and I write science fiction, fantasy, paranormal romance in the long form and short form, as well as some horror.
My name is Matthew Farrer. I've had 5 novels published. My 6th is currently in edits.
The theme for this year's Lights Canberra Action is planted, and coming off that, we wanted to come up with something relevant. I thought about how over the New Year's period I was unable to contact my family through the bushfires. So that sort of sprouted the idea that we have now. So this is a family drama about a mother and a son, and them being separated due to the fires, and a story about how you should always appreciate what you have while you have it.
The story takes place with a character. He's a young man. He's having an argument with his mum. He leaves home, and the bushfires come through.
Our film is about a cat lover who's very shy, and he accidentally tags himself with an enhanced cat tagger, causing him to develop certain behaviours. But with that, it also enables him to come out of his shell more.
It's interesting because the way the story evolved from, just the idea of someone being implanted with a microchip and trying to work the story around that.
So to fit around the theme of Lights Camera Action, we wanted to make something original.
I guess the idea of implanting someone with a chip that makes them behave like a cat. But I think what's familiar about it is, cat behaviours. Like there's a lot of cat videos and people behaving like cat memes, and it's sort of bringing that together in a sort of new sort of way of, the shy, nerdy guy ends up being a bit more confident because he's taken on some cat behaviours.
Friday evening, we find out there are going to be 10 objects, so things or places, sounds, whatever, that we have to incorporate to meet the terms of the competition. And then, so once we have those and can find places for them in the story, then at that point we're ready to start shooting.
We're hoping to start filming next weekend. Friday the 21st, we've got a party scene that we're going to film at. Then Saturday, we're hoping to secure a booking at a property to film on. We've got hopefully one child actor coming in, an actor playing a mother. We're trying to get into contact with the RFS to get firefighters and a fire truck in one of our shots. So fingers crossed that all works out. I mean, it might not, but we're doing our best.
I think the thing I've learned the most is collaboration and working with other people, and especially when you're writing something, because you're used to writing, I guess, just for yourself, and then having to share your ideas with other people. I found that can be challenging, but also really rewarding because other people have such great ideas as well, and just incorporating that into your story.
Well, definitely distilling an idea. So we went through premise, theme, plot, and log lines, and just workshopping an idea, putting it through. It was almost like putting it through a sieve and then seeing what came out the other end. And it was really at the start, it highlighted a lot of plot holes that we had. And then in the end, what we ended up with was something much, much stronger. Yeah.
I've always liked film, so I've always wanted to do filmmaking, and I've done little bits of filmmaking before. But this is because it's from beginning to end. I wanted to really learn the whole process of film.
I've got all these stories, and I just want to get them out there. And I feel like there's something that I need to say, and I don't want them to die. That's the other part of it, There's just something about, even if it can, when I'm editing, even if it takes 4 hours for 10 seconds of footage, watching that play back, watching it flow properly, it's just very rewarding to me.
It's fun. It's something I came to quite late. I've been doing prose writing for many years. I've had several novels and a lot of short fiction published. I have no idea where this will go, if it will go anywhere, but it's right from the end of the first workshop that we did, we were talking about what we would do when we came back to do another one. It's It's great fun. It's exhilarating. It's turning out to be quite addictive.
When you're out filming your Lights Camera Action films, you tend to find other filmmakers around filming their films as well. And so one of the things that I thought would be really great is actually to talk to some of these filmmakers and get an understanding what it's like to make their film. First, I bumped into Brendan Kelly, who is an actor and filmmaker, and I came to a very odd moment where there was a bit of a party scene in a park, and what I saw was one of his actors getting very comfortable with a plant.
So it's a bit of a new thing for us, like a huge twist at the end. I'm hoping no one's going to see it coming.
Yep.
Because it's trying to make it so out there that you just would never see it coming, and there's no hints of that coming out. One of the people isn't a person by the end of our film.
Yeah.
And it's sort of a homage to a famous film that hopefully also people won't see coming.
Okay.
But I think that's all I can say
Okay.
to keep the secret.
What's it like making a Lights Camera Action film?
It's very exciting. It's actually really like that sort of that hunt. What is it? You're hunting for scavenger hunt, exactly. Love the scavenger hunt element of it, and also trying to sort of fit a coherent story around that is a really interesting experience. Sort of want to keep it simple, but the items you're putting in it kind of make it more complicated by itself.
Yeah. What's been the hardest part of your shoot so far?
The hardest part so far, I think, has just been getting people all together on the day that you want them, and keeping it to the time that you need. Because if you're trying to go from location to location, as the kind of event dictates, you got to get things done really quick.
Another filmmaker that I spent some time on set with is Philip Meadows, who is making a sequel to his top 12 entry, Someone Else's Country. So he's back out in the Canberra bushlands, filming a scene for his entry for this year.
My Lights Canberra Action film is Somebody Else's Country 2, which is like a sequel to the film I did last year, which was my first film that I got accepted as part of LCA, first time in the top 12, isn't it? There's 12 of them, right? Yeah. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time as a feature film, but obviously I can't do it with budget. You need a big budget for a feature film, so start small, and I'm going to try and keep doing this one episodal for as long as I can. The story comes around the idea of not being able to do a big humongous western with horses and carriages and all that sort of stuff that I would like to do, because it's based off a book called Smokey the Outlaws of the Kimberley, Smokey the Bandit, which is one of my favourite books. So it's a similar sort of context to that in Australian law. And I just decided if you take away the horses and you take away cars because it's apocalyptic future and everyone's running out to get everyone, and anyone with a car could be heard from miles away, so you make yourself a target. I was writing the film when I was playing DayZ, so a lot of the stuff in the film is actual real events that happened to me playing that video game. So today we're carrying on the story where we come across old Tom, who's chasing down some raiders who have just been to his place, and the main character, Charles, knows old Tom, and they're on their way to Aunt Bessie's, and old Tom dies, so they have to deliver Tom's body to Aunt Bessie, and that's the next stage of this journey. This one's focused more around Peony as the protagonist, as the awesome female sidekick to Charles, who he's graciously picked up. And there's a big juxtaposition in this film with his own daughter, Charles's own daughter, who he left back at home, and the child he now has to he's looking after in this different world. In order to get ready for a film, you have to set dates first. You can't get anyone good working on your film until you've got dates. And then once you've got dates, then you can start collecting all the troops to get in there. I guess creatively, it usually starts with who I'd like to work with. And then I try not to go and get them excited, because you don't want to give people false hope, because I used to do that a lot. Like, I want you to be in my film, it'll be great, blah, 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 blah. And then months and months go by, and then that person no longer is appropriate for the role, because the role has evolved. So it's usually the people that I want to put in my film. That's my first motivation. And then my second motivation is towards what sort of story world I'd like to explore. Story worlds is usually my creative process, creating a story world. That's what I like to do. Lights Canberra Action for me has always been an opportunity to network and find more people to work with on films. The best parts of it is we're still small enough to know everyone, and give hugs on set, and it's like a family reunion every time we catch up because we've all got our own lives and it gives us an opportunity to come together.
And the final clip I have for you is another deleted exclusive clip from the conversation I had with Hugh Sanderson. And Hugh, being one of the perhaps most successful Lights Camera Action filmmakers, he had a few key tips on what makes a great Lights Camera Action film. But I think these tips apply for all sort of short film as well.
So there's two camps. There's the easy stuff and there's the hard stuff. The easy stuff are the checkboxes you can tick that are going to make your life easier at the end of the day. The first is have your script ready well ahead of time. Write at least 2 drafts. Just you want to get it out of your system first, but then you want to actually make sure it's of quality. There are times I wish I'd done more drafts on my own writing, or more than one. I look back now and be like, oh, that's just crap. But that's really important. Like, get other people to read your scripts. Don't hide them from people. I think be ready to share with people you trust, of course. And then when they give you feedback, even if it's harsh, just accept that feedback. It's your job to decide what notes you
take
do
on.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing that every script editor or producer who gives feedback that I've ever engaged with, they always say at the end of delivering notes, take them or leave them as you see fit. One thing that I also think is important is get another screenwriter working with you. Have more than one person writing a story. Just like there are some things that you'll get so caught up in your own bubble about the story that there may be something not working and you won't recognize that someone else will. And having another screenwriter there to help break that tension, but also bring in a slightly different voice and make sure that you're not getting into, I guess, especially with your characters' voices, monotony and having similar sounding characters. That's really helpful to have.
Yeah. And I think on that point as well, it's very easy to get confused by the rules of the competition, like because it sounds like you're supposed to start on day 1 and finish on day 10, and really you can't start production until day 1. So you've got months and months, even a year, to actually develop a great script. And it's definitely not against the rules to do that.
It's cameras can't roll before the 10 days begin, but you should be, and this will be another point in a moment, but you should have your script done. You should have everything planned and booked in. You should be rehearsing with your actors before this time begins, so everyone gets there and is actually comfortable and not freaking out. Because they know that they've only got limited amounts of time to do this. Okay, so my next thing in the easy stuff is look, I'm not normally a fan of exposition or montage, or exposition by montage. That being said, it does 2 useful things for a Lights Camera Action film. 1, it sets up your story's world quickly. And 2, it gives a home to some or all of your items. Which is really handy. What that means is you can now spend the other 6.5 minutes of your film just focusing on your character's journey. It sets up your story's world. You do not want to be spending like 5 minutes more of your film world building. That's not how you make a good film, especially in 7 minutes. I wish I rehearsed more with my actors. Character is just critical to good storytelling, period. So taking the time to learn how to work with your actors on this one, building a relationship with them, building trust with them, letting them explore the role and bring their own ideas to the table will make life so much easier on set. You also want to have planned everything, just plan everything. Be in a position where you could roll cameras immediately after the last item has been announced if you really wanted to. We did that one year. We literally did that one year. We had one of our crew at the announcement desk kind of listing down what they are and texting them to us as we were starting to dress the set. So an hour later, we could start rolling cameras. Trust your team. Holy moly, trust your team. Your cast and crew are there because they are better than you at their jobs. Just let them do their thing. You want to be having fun as well. You don't want to be destroying yourself. Be ready to improvise. Things are going to go wrong. Don't schedule, for example, to finish your edit and export on the same day or an hour before submission. I say that from making that mistake myself. You will need extra time up your sleeve. You'll need flexibility up your sleeve. And flexibility doesn't necessarily mean always having a backup option, but being in a state where you're not so locked onto your vision that you are prepared to make sacrifices for the sake of getting the film made. And sometimes you'll be surprised by how much better the film will become when you're thrown a curveball. But it's just something to be ready for, especially if you're producing or directing. I think the most important job of the director is to lead a team. and rally them around your vision so they share that same vision and all feed into the same thing. And you've got to be ready to be able to lead that team through the difficult times as well.
Well, that brings us to the end of the first episode of Season 2 of Film Rhapsody.
Make sure you subscribe on your podcast player so you don't miss an episode. And also, you can support this podcast by becoming a patron. And you can find us on patreon.com/Sanguinetti Media. I'm Dan Sanguinetti.
I'm Russell Lee.
And this has been Film Rhapsody.
Film Rhapsody is produced by Russell Lee and Dan Sanguinetti for Sanguinetti Media. Find our home at sanguinettimedia.com.au.
Let's record that again.